What is poppin', PP Nation? Today we are talking about Invincible Season 4. Invincible has been talk of the town for a while now since it's been premiering, and rightfully so. This show is really good. Invincible is what I wish a lot of comic book stories were, but because comic book writers have to follow so many regulations or end on a certain point or have so many restrictions, they can't tell a full cohesive story from beginning to end with consistent characters and everything like that. They don't get that luxury. So when someone comes along, you can tell that he was a fan of the superhero genre and kind of wanted to make something out of it. Now, so far, season 4 deals a lot with the Viltrumite War and the story and all that, but first, I don't want to get to the main point first, the scraps that go on in this fucking show. I mean, this show is just a lot of hands and a lot of aura farming, and we love it. One of the biggest complaints I heard throughout Invincible season 1, 2, and 3 was that Mark was he was a pussy, right? That Mark was getting his ass kicked all the time. Like villain of the week, he's just beating his ass. But in this season, Mark is finally locking in. Like one of my most anticipated fights was the Invincible versus Conquest rematch. I really wanted to see that, and it did not disappoint. Like the instant Invincible saw Conquest, it was on sight. I just love how Invincible took initiative. Bro barely beat him once, and he was determined to do it again. And look, here's the thing. Mark had a lot of help in the first fight, and to be fair, he wasn't ready for him. He really wasn't. He pushed him to his absolute limits, and he barely came out alive with all the help in the world, all the help on Earth, I should say. And I think Mark needed a definitive win over a really strong character to show his status as a top tier Viltrumite. And what I love is that his win over Conquest was conditional, even though he is at his max, right? He's on the same tier as we saw at the end of season 3. He was able to come up with a strategy to just choke him out instead of fighting him in an all-out brawl. He just like withstood him and choked him out, and he was able to take the win. He gave up his defense to defeat him, and I feel like that was the only, I don't know if it was the only option, but it was the best option he had to defeat him then. Like it was as much of a smart thing to do as much of it was a physical feat, you know?
The fight was pretty dope. I do like how he was just choking the hell out of him. I thought that was pretty smart, like you said, but I do wish there was a bit more choreography, a little bit more hands. I understand what Mark was going for the plot, but as a Dragon Ball Z fan, as a fucking, anime fan, I want to see some crazy moves, and I feel like it was a little bit wasted with the gore, with the shock value.
I do wish we got more fight choreography, and we know the team is capable, right? We've seen Invincible throw hands, like when he was throwing hands with that knife hair lady. He just like did some John Wick ass combo on her. But yeah, this one it felt just more like big power punches and a little less technical skill in some fights, but it definitely could have been better, and it doesn't help that we're spoiled by anime. So many anime have been coming out lately that the animation is just phenomenal. I highly encourage anyone watching this to watch Jujutsu Kaisen if you haven't already. Season 2 and Season 3 just came out. The animation it's impressive. It's mind-blowing. It's when I watch it, it's surprising that it's a show and not a full-fledged movie. What Mappa is doing over there, it's special. And when you see the budget that those shows have compared to the Invincible budget, it's like night and day. It's like, come on, like we could be getting so much more out of this. But a lot of people do complain that, oh, maybe it's because they're spending all this money hiring these guest voice actors to play all these big roles for like minor characters when, they could use that money for the budget. And I can see that. I get that sentiment. I agree with it. And it's like, I'm sure Amazon, they have unlimited money. They could just, pump money into this if they want to. And they don't have to settle for animation. I don't know if it's because they are trying to do it faster. I know they are releasing it yearly, but still, I think they can still do a lot more if they just put more money into it, put more artists on it, something. And I know a counter to I just want to say this too. I know if you compare the budget to something like Jujutsu Kaisen versus Invincible, it's like crazy, or like all these millions of dollars versus like hundreds of thousands. To be fair, I don't know if they pay their animators that good over there in Japan.
I'm so mixed with this season. I really like Invincible as a series. I like the comic book, and I like what it represents. I like how it turns the superhero genre on its head, and it has that nuanced commentary, and it really wants to hammer that in your head. And I love that, and this season was one of the best seasons for that, in my opinion. At the same time, I feel like I have that's one of my main gripes, is the animation. I feel like it's really ugly. I mean, granted, to give it credit, once you let your eyes adjust to it, there is some beautiful scenes and some really nice cinematography, which I can really appreciate.
Maybe it's because I just watched Naruto all the way through recently, and some of those earlier episodes or low budget episodes were really rough. Maybe it's because of that I was more generous with the animation when watching it, or I was a little more forgiving of it, I should say. But no, yeah, some of it does look a little rough, especially some of the smaller scenes, and because I know they changed their animation approach or made a different studio just for this after season 1. And after season 1, you could tell that's when the animation problems started arising. But I think when the show wants to lock in or show something crazy, it does, like the budget will randomly just skyrocket whenever like Conquest is on scene or something major is happening. And this season did have a lot of major stuff happening. People were begging for the Viltrumite War, and well, we finally got it. Because I'll be honest, I really enjoyed the first few episodes of the season, like before it really delved into the Viltrumite War. Because season 1 set up a lot of side plots, like with the Flaxens, those weird Martian alien things, the whole underground syndicate with Machine Head.
Okay, first of all, I don't fuck with this. All real Rangers fans, jump over the fence now and get here right now. Let's go. Security, don't you touch them. Don't you touch them. Security, back up. Let them over. Let them over. Mike Dean, let them over.
I found a lot of those storylines interesting, and people have to remember the comic book went on for like over a decade. It ran for a while, so there's a lot of these random side stories. It wasn't just all Viltrumite War. And I like the way the show is incorporating all those storylines, like little by little, and in the first few episodes before it gets into the real big stuff, the meat and potatoes that people are waiting for. And I personally find it all very interesting. But that brings us to the next point of conversation, which was the Hell episode. I think it's called like Herm or some shit like that. Like I said, I do like those side stories, but I will say this episode was one of the more boring ones, or one of my least favorite of the series, I would say. At least definitely my least favorite episode of this season. And it's not just because, it's just not Viltrumite War, just because not oral farming. No, it wasn't none of that. Like, I know it's developing the character. I know they're exploring another part that kind of got forgotten from season 1, which was that whole Damien Darkblood. Like, he got banished to hell, then it got forgotten about. So I thought it was cool that they did continue it, but I feel like the humor wasn't landing as much this episode. I feel like there wasn't as much exciting stuff going on. And then he had Bruce Campbell voicing Satan, which felt like, oh wow, another celebrity voice actor taking up a minor role that, maybe we could have saved money, had a better, better animation, right? I don't know. All those things came up into my head. I still enjoyed the episode, but it definitely was one of the slower ones. More of the jokes didn't land as much. And also, we got hoed out of that Invincible versus that 3-headed like dog thing. We just like got robbed that fight. He just throws him up in the air, then we just hear the fight, but then he falls down. Like, oh wow, okay, cheap way to just skip out on the fight. That one felt more like a clear like budget thing. Oh yeah, let's just cut a corner so we don't have to show the fight there. That one felt more obvious. And I feel like all these different elements kind of just made the episode it didn't feel on par with the rest of the series.
Personally, I really liked the Hell episode. I thought it was a good breathing room with, some humor, and not saying all the humor landed. It was pretty cringe, and a lot of it felt like how you were saying, like a little bit out of place. But a part of me feels like it's perfectly in placed. And that's my biggest gripe with this season in particular. It felt like this season was very, it really feels heavy. And I'm not saying any of this is bad thing. I really enjoy media that makes you think. But what I'm saying is this plot felt very mean-spirited towards Mark in a way that it felt like every episode was just the worst day of his life.
This is the worst day of my life.
The worst day of your life so far.
And he didn't really get to recuperate from that. Every episode he was getting beat down, his ideology was getting questioned, and I feel like the show was not giving him any breathing room.
Yeah, we're definitely in the part of Mark's story where he's getting broken down, like in every hero's journey, right at the end of the second act before third act, the hero is always at his lowest. All his friends left him. Something went completely wrong. The character's at the lowest point before they start building themselves back up again to take on the final threat, you know, like the classic storytelling like arc, you know. So I think because this story lasted so long, this season is basically mostly just like Mark's like this bad arc, you know. Even like even season 3, you know, like when he had his black and blue, it's like supposed to signify like or represent, you know, like dark times. Every time he wears that shit, like bad stuff happens for sure. It feels really disheartening because the thing about Invincible is throughout the whole show, even though he does get his ass whooped, what's invincible about him is his iron will. He refuses to back down. He's always going to stand up and fight for what's right, you know. But when Thragg fucking came to him, he's like, yeah, bro, like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to let me do this, and I'm going to do this, and you're not going to interrupt me. Like, you have no choice in this, but yeah, you do. And he's like, yeah, Mark he was just scared out of his mind. He's like, dude, yeah, like, he just thought of Eve. He's like, man, he has no chance to, like, kill this guy. He's like, what else is he supposed to do? So I get what you're saying, dude. This is like probably the darkest part. I haven't read the comics all the way, so I don't know, but this might be one of the darkest parts of Mark's life, you know. So I like that Thragg is at least bringing this upon him, but I do like the human aspect of Mark. Like, he needs therapy. He's gone through so much fucked up shit throughout this whole show that he needs mental help. He's still a kid. I don't think he's 21 yet. Thank goodness Thragg is a reasonable man, and he cares a lot about the survival of his people and just doesn't want all out war and genocide against the other Viltrum. Because if he wanted to, he could just pack this all up and conquer everything, but he's still kind of offering a little olive branch to Mark, even though it's more like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I want and you're gonna have to just gonna let us. But it's like, realistically, just like what the fuck are they supposed to do, man? He like Thragg big broed them so fucking bad that like when Conquest killed Eve in front of Mark, he went crazy, right? Like, unleashed everything, punched so hard he's breaking his own bones, right? Versus when Thragg just put a hole into his dad, he just looked at him, threw one punch, and then just started running. He got scared. Thragg is a different fucking breed. Like, what is he supposed to do? And I like how tense that was. I was scared the whole time watching the episode. Like, dude, is he gonna show up now? Is he gonna show up now? I know he's having all those flashbacks of what could happen. And in the back of everyone's mind, everyone was expecting that. Everyone was expecting like just some crazy massacre, like bloodshed to happen so suddenly, because that's what this show like always does. Always pulls some shit randomly when you least expect it.
Yeah, Thragg was a freaking monster. He was just slapping them around like nothing. I wonder why they didn't just jump him though. Like they were like a team of the most powerful heroes in the universe. I feel like they could have done a little bit more by jumping him and what's that name? Space Racer could have like shot him. One shot from Space Racer would have ended him. I mean, I get it, right? It's like super scary, probably like speed blitz everybody. But man, they could have fought in unison.
Well, initially their plan was to race Thragg to Viltrum and try to catch him off guard while he's still reeling from the loss. But as Mike Tyson famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And I like how even people on the ship were nervous as hell. Before we ever even saw Thragg in action, people were nervous on the ship about encountering him, except for Oliver. Yeah, what's the big deal? He doesn't even live up to the hype. Just to get fucking one-shotted.
Also, that plan of blowing up Viltrum, like, what was going through their heads? I was like, okay, like, they classified destroying Viltrum as winning the war, but they didn't do anything. Like, they were just expecting the Viltrumites to just be okay with it. I don't know. It felt very, like they didn't really think it through.
Yeah, it was an extremely short-sighted plan that seemed like the right choice in the moment, but it's like Cecil said, you guys just destroyed the beehive and have a bunch of angry bees now. I hope we get to see it in the next season, but I really want to see Mark confront Cecil like, hey bro, you know who I saw in space the other day? Yeah, that guy you said was dead. We could talk about Invincible for hours, so we'll just get to our final thoughts now. I thought Invincible Season 4 was the most exciting so far. We finally got to get to the Viltrumite War and the meat and potatoes. We got to see stuff we've been waiting to see, like Nolan confronting Debbie again, the Mark versus Conquest rematch, and we finally got to see our GOAT Thragg make an appearance and show off why he's the fucking king of Viltrum. Because he put the fucking paws on him. This season had so many hype moments, so many hype fights, so much R farming, so many dope ass clips. I honestly couldn't get enough. I loved it. And it was easily the most intense season of Invincible by far. I mean, this whole show is like a strong 9, almost a 10 for me. I highly recommend you get on this if you haven't already, because Invincible fans love spoiling the fuck out of everything from the comics especially.
Although I could be pretty critical about some certain things about this season, I think it was very intentional and self-aware. I feel like the writer already had like a second chance of writing his story, so this is like the most optimal version of it. And the things that I dislike is not really me shitting on the plot, but more me shitting on the decisions of the characters within the plot. But other than that, I really liked it. It's like you said, the action was phenomenal. There was a lot of tension and scary moments, and you know, it really made you feel it. It even felt almost kind of like a A24 movie with all those like slow shots and methodical, and I really enjoyed it. I think I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's some of the Invincible best season yet, and I can't wait for next season. I hope next season they're less stupid.
And if anyone at Amazon or the showheads is listening, please, we don't care that much about the guest voice actors. Put more budget into the animation, because when you guys lock in, it looks incredible, but some of this stuff is kind of chopped, guys. Come on. But that's it for this one. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Deuces.